How are you doing?
I take land stewardship very seriously and want to leave the land in a better condition than when I got it. And those are the words that I want for my legacy to live on forever. I feel like we've lost a few generations recently, going over the past few decades, of the understanding of conservatism and agriculture. And I feel really strongly about the issue that the whole world has with the cities growing too fast, urban sprawl, taking over agricultural lands, and basically the general population not having a good understanding as to where our food comes from, or even what conservatism is.
Maggie.
You want to go out, buddy? Come on. Come on.
Chunk! Let's go, bud.
As stewards of the land, as producers on our land, our job is to take care of the environment, to maximize the conservation, but at the same time still maintaining a decent yield in order for us to survive and or thrive. And of course now I'm basing this all on my own experience here on our 90-acre property. It's a really old hobby farm, really. Maybe at some point in history it was used as a production farm, but from my understanding, the last few owners of this place just kept the hobby farm. Maybe they were some type of homesteaders and they were doing it for fun and for the enjoyment, and that's almost similar to what we've decided to do on the property. But I've really been thinking long and hard since getting this property about my feelings about land stewardship and what some of my intentions are on this property as I'm going through the process of learning everything I can about this land of ours.
Hello, rabbit. Wow, your ears are looking really good.
I gave him some Revolution to clear up the ear mites, and they are looking good.
Are you guys having fun? Bobby, you like the straw? You guys playing?
What exactly is a steward of the land anyway? I think it has a lot to do with healthy soil, clean water, clean air, biological diversity of all the living organisms around the ecosystem of our property. We need to shape the technology and conservatism to the business community as well as people as a whole in and around our local community. I mean, conservatism is just like sustainable agriculture,
Who wants breakfast? Oh, you're gonna get water on your head. See, I told ya.
I really want to be responsible in how we use the natural environment here on the farm.
Hey, Bunny. How are you? How are you? You okay?
It also affects the wildlife. Every living thing has some sort of job to do in this world. On our property in particular, we're full of deer, coyote, raccoons, fox, possums, skunks, tons of big-sized birds, predatory birds like hawks and owls and things like that. And they all have an importance to play in our ecosystem, trying to identify the soils to see what needs to be done to somewhat bring it back. The native plants are going to play a factor, the animals and the habitats, and just understanding the relationship between those natural features of our land.
Chunky, what are you doing? Chunk? What are you doing under there?
Now, I'm certainly no professional and I'm not highly educated on all this stuff. These are just some of the things I've been learning since we've had this property. And I mean, I take it to heart. I really, truly want this land to be better off when I'm done with it. I do want to develop the land because my wife and I still need to earn a living. So we need to find a way to develop the land, but also have a plan to rebuild the ecosystem here. Because the thing about our property is that it hasn't been properly managed or maintained for decades and decades. So it's probably going to take me decades to bring it back to its fully restorative self, you know? Land stewardship benefits the wildlife and their natural habitats, and it also benefits us humans who actually live off the land or produce things on the land. A perfect example of how we're developing that theory here on our farm is the relationship that the geese and the ducks have while they're free-ranging in the orchard. Yes, they all have a job to do. The ducks are to eat all the insects, or at least most of the insects, in the orchard. And that's in turn going to help the trees to grow properly and to produce fruits. But also, the geese are out there not only to guard the ducks from smallish type predators, but also to eat the grass, right? It lessens the amount of feed that we have to give them when they both eat bugs and grass. And let's face it, while they're out there pooping and pooping all day long, they're also fertilizing the entire area, and that includes all the fruit trees. Starting to get a little blizzardy out. Look at her making a little nest down there. Why she doesn't use the nesting boxes? At least she's laying, that's all I have to say. You guys lay me any eggs? Let's see. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Thank you very much. Here, chickens. Let's switch over to forest management for a second. Far too many people in the world that don't ever interact with trees and don't understand forest management, all while having a super extreme opinion that none of us should ever be cutting down any trees. Here's a perfect example of a tree that was stunted and then a whole bunch of suckers grew, and now the tree is like 30, 40, 50 years old and it's starting to die because all the roots are competing with themselves. You can see that this was two separate trees. You can see the dividing line right there, and they've basically competed with each other. So now there's this tree, this tree, this tree, and they're all suckers. Look at this one. It's connected down there too. And look, it's already starting to die up there. So you can see what's happening. Because it was a sucker, it should have been cut down long ago. Now, this is some nice timber. If you look all the way up, it's a pretty straight trunk. So this would be a prime example of a tree that I would cut for my sawmill, trying my best to harvest this wood before it dies, before it gets too rotten, before it gets insect infested, and then it's going to be too late. Some trees need to be cut for the betterment of the entire forest. That way the sunlight can get down to the forest floor and really all of the trees can thrive instead of just some of the bigger ones. Here's an example of a tree that's already dying. You see the bark? And look at the way it's leaning. It's leaning this way towards our driveway. You can see the bark is coming off. There's a big split right there. That's not great because the minute I try to cut this down, it's going to start going down because it's already angled that way. And then that split is going to come back towards me. So honestly, that's not something I want to do in the winter because the footing in the winter is like deep snow. I want to be able to run out of the way in case it's falling, you know? Just imagine these just few examples of trees that are almost dying that I should have harvested already, or the previous owner should have harvested. Really, we're only here for not even 3 years yet. But we got this whole forest. This is all ours. And I feel like it's a goal of mine to bring this property back to its former glory in its natural setting and environment. But it's gonna take me decades too, because I enjoy feeling the pride of ownership, you know, the sense of accomplishment. And if I just go ahead and hire a logging company, even if they selectively cut, that's not as much fun. I want to be responsible. I want to be the one to do it. It's okay. I have patience. I have the wherewithal. I have the determination, and I'm going to get it done, I assure you. We have to help the land to recover from decades of neglect. I will have a plan in place to sustain our forest also. Don't think that I'm just going to be removing trees and not doing anything about it. You know, agriculture has somewhat of a dark history too, you know. It's not all unicorns and rainbows when it comes to farming industry. Over the past couple hundred years, agriculture in many cases is the problem about deforestation and contaminated water and soil erosion, even habitat and species loss, you know. Think about how many species were lessened or lost altogether because 200 years ago we started cutting up the forest in order to make farmland. I believe in small farms, not big agricultural corporations. Too many people on the earth need to be fed. And I mean, in order to feed everyone and every animal that we have on the earth, it takes a lot of farming. So I understand the need for corporate farms. I'm just not a big fan. Now, what I do know is, as a landowner, and I consider myself a steward of the land, I want to develop this property in such a way that I can continue to reap the benefits and the rewards of what the property can give me, at the same time sustaining the natural ecosystem that's already here and restoring some of the biodiversity and the ecosystem that's in and around our 90 acres. I appreciate you guys listening, and if you would be so kind as to watch another video for me, here's a really great episode. I'll put it down below here, and it's really telling a quick backstory as to what my darling and I have done on this property over the past few years. And thanks for watching.